Today's Monday, September 23rd, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network, live from Atlanta. Folks, crime is down in America. Why are the Trump people continue to say that crime is up? Well, that's what happens when, of course, you are desperate in this election. So we'll talk about that on today's show. Also, the Democrat National Committee, they're calling Trump a chicken for not accepting Vice President Kamala Harris's, following her accepting the invitation to CNN for an October 23rd debate. But the Trump people keep saying, oh my God, she's losing. Really? We'll show you new ads dropped by them and Lincoln Project as well. The youngest of the Jackson family is repeating lies by Vice President Kamala Harris. What the hell is Janet Jackson talking about? Also, an Ohio sheriff who said let's target people with Kamala Harris signs in their yards will not be providing any security when it comes to this election. Also, more Teamsters come out in support of Vice President Kamala Harris. And it's been more than a year since a Chicago educator was gunned down in his high-rise apartment. The family says the shooter was hunted down. The shooter says the shooter hunted down Abner Joseph. But why has the person still not been arrested in this case? Folks, it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Well, folks, if you listen to the lies coming from Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and Republicans, you would think America is going crazy. Rampant crime everywhere, yet the FBI says that is not the case. A sharp decrease in violent crime took place. First of all, overall violent crime was down 3% in 2023 from the year before. Murders and non-negligent manslaughter dropped nearly 12%. Even with the 2020 pandemic surges, violent crime is down dramatically from the 1990s. Now, Trump recently pushed his attacks on immigrants, claiming that crime is through the roof under President Joe Biden's administration. Here's that lie.
In Queens a few months ago, an illegal alien released by Kamala Harris, she was in charge of the border, approached two 13-year-old children with a machete in broad daylight, forced them into the woods, tied them together by the wrist and raped them, injured them terribly, very badly. You know about it. In the Bronx, another illegal alien that Kamala Harris set loose into our country approached a 36-year-old woman while pretending to ask for directions. Ma'am, he said, I'd like directions to someplace. Before he...
All right, so first of all, I'm not going to sit here and just keep playing those lies. Again, what you see there is they want to, one, blame Vice President Kamala Harris on any crime that involves a migrant into this country. But the bottom line is they want to overlook the reality that crime among immigrants is actually lower than Americans. Michael Eisenberg with the Center for American Progress, he's the managing director of Rights and Justice. He joins us right now. Michael, glad to have you here. Let's be real clear. I'm sorry, my apologies. I read that wrong. Rachel Eisenberg. Rachel, let's be real clear. This is scare tactics. This is all about, and I'm just going to be frankly, this is about scaring white people into thinking that, oh my God, these immigrants, these people of color, they are destroying our nation. We're going crazy to hell. Let's load the streets with crime, and it's the Democrats' fault this is all happening.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on today. I think you're spot on. The Trump and his campaign really are ignoring the facts, and the facts that the FBI released in its annual data today from 2023 really show that crime is declining, and in many categories and all over the country. And so you have data from law enforcement agencies that cover 94% of the country, showing that reported crime is down. And it just doesn't fit with the narrative that Donald Trump wants to tell.
Well, and it's not just Donald Trump, it's Republicans as well. And so when you look at polling data, they poll better when it comes to crime because they have created this notion, just like with the economy, that they somehow are better than the Democrats. Oh, those Democrats, they'll cash bail. They want people out of jail. You could just steal stuff all around the country and you won't get arrested because they want to play this tough on crime deal when in fact, we have had an issue in this country when it comes to locking people up. But you got people like Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton who believe more people should be thrown into jail because it is the economic driver for a lot of these rural communities in red states. That's what that's also about.
And the reality is that the Democrats know and have been actually implementing policies and programs across the country to keep people safe. They're investing in community-based solutions that are showing success at driving crime rates down. And you're seeing evidence of that in the FBI crime data that was released today. They're developing programs that are partnerships with community organizations to intervene in violence to make sure it doesn't happen. They're investing in law enforcement's efforts to investigate and close violent crime cases. They are supporting victims and crime survivors who have really suffered and who are in need of support. And so we have, there's countless evidence that shows the policies that are actually supported by Democrats and by Vice President Harris through the investments made in the American Rescue Plan and the passage of the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to restrict access to guns, that those things are having a real impact in communities across the country. And that is just not something that, Republicans are not offering any solutions. They would just rather, put up smoke and mirrors.
Well, look, Rachel, I'm here in Atlanta, and I can tell you yesterday when I was watching NFL games, especially the Dallas Cowboys losing yesterday. Of course, I'm sure Henry, my director, is really happy I mentioned that. He's a big Cowboys fan. And so during halftime, it was like 4 Trump commercials. 2 of them were all about saying that, Vice President Kamala Harris wants sex changes for transgender illegal immigrants. And so there were 2 of those ads, and the other 2 were dealing with crime. Georgia's the battleground state, okay? Now, I also live in Virginia. I'm not seeing those ads there in Virginia because it's a different dynamic there. And so you see what's going on here. And so it is the pushing of lies. And then what then happens, you have Fox News, you have the echo chamber of conservative talk radio. It's not like you got equal time. Then you got these conservative digital websites. And so you're seeing this constant onslaught of crime. New York Post highlighting crimes involving, immigrants, migrants, but ignoring crimes that are happening, frankly, that happen every day among Americans. And so they want to ignore the data, and then they want to say, well, the big cities aren't actually reporting the data, so therefore the numbers are skewed. That's what their whole game is.
That's also not true. I think every single city in America with 1 million residents or more reported data and that was released by the FBI today. And so the reality is that the Republicans are having a really hard time, dealing with the fact that not only is, crime going down, you also have leaders like Kamala Harris who have spent their entire careers working to make communities safer and has a long track record to show for it. So they're resorting to their, age-old tactics of, lifting up one instance of crime and making it that the entire story, because the reality is that while people still do believe that crime is an issue in this country and their fears are real and valid, Democrats have demonstrated time and again that they both take accountability seriously, holding people accountable for violent crime and holding systems of justice accountable, as well as investing real resources in preventing crime before it happens, which is what's going to make a difference in the long term.
But do you also think part of the problem here is that for Democrats, they've always played defense in this area because Republicans, no matter what Democrats did, tagged them soft on the crime, soft on the crime. And so then you had Democrats trying to prove how tough they were on crime. I remember, look, I'm born and raised in Texas. And I remember when Mark White was running for re-election of governor of the state. And I will never forget this ad. And it was these massive posters of all the individuals put to death when he was governor. And it was just like, like you're walking past these black and white images, and it's like, let me prove how tough I am on crime. I think that's also been part of the deal. When Democrats talk about solutions and not putting people in prison and coming up with alternative methods, it's like, you're soft, you're soft. And so part of this problem, I think, for the longest, is that Democrats have not been able to properly message on this issue, even when you have the data that's showing crime is going down. I mean, bottom line is, the Biden-Harris administration has put more money into policing, allowing cops to be hired, but that somehow doesn't get through because it's always Republicans, they're better when it comes to reducing crime.
Well, and I think part of the issue is that when you are waiting and responding, when you're on the defense, it's not as easy to communicate about all of the work and tireless energy that has been put in to actually making communities safer. I mean, Democrats really have to get out there just on their own terms, talking about how important public safety is and how a dual approach to public safety through accountability and prevention will really address the concerns that Americans have about crime in this country. And so they can't wait till someone attacks them on an individual incident of crime. They have to be able to take Americans' concerns seriously because crime does affect too many people in this country. But the reality is that we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. All right, then. Listen, it's great to see that crime is going down. But I must say this here, and I will say it all the time, that you cannot confront the issue of crime in this country solely from a law enforcement perspective. If you do not deal with educational and economic issues, then you're not going to actually confront crime.
And that's absolutely spot on. I mean, I think the solutions that will address crime and prevent it over the long term and create really durable safety in communities are building up our schools, investing in housing and healthcare, mental health and substance use resources, beautifying our neighborhoods and our parks. There is no shortage of research, and it's backed by experiences of people who live in neighborhoods where there's a lot of crime, that those are the things that really not only reduce crime, but make people feel safe, make people want to go, want to be out in the community, interacting with one another and supporting one another's safety. That is where long-term change is really going to happen.
Indeed. Rachel Eisenberg, Center for the American Progress. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Folks, going to a quick break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message. In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up? It's Tammy Roman.
Hey, it's John Murray, the executive producer of the new Sherry Shepherd Talk Show.
It's me, Sherry Shepherd, and you know what you're watching, Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Bennett College author, coming to us out of Washington, D.C., Dr. Amakongo Dabinga Sr., professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University out of D.C., Jade Mathis, counsel with the District Legal Group out of D.C. Glad to have all three of you here. So, Amakongo, I'll start with you. How do Democrats properly message, explain what's happening with crime and why their policies make more sense? Again, when you look at things like crime, when you think about the economy, it's just sort of like ingrained. People automatically think, oh, Republicans are better. Even though, as Bill Clinton said at the Democratic National Convention, look at the numbers when it comes to who has created more jobs. When you've had the last 3 Republican presidents, we ended in a recession. So Democrats have to figure out how to message on crime without trying to be so defensive and then trying to be so pro-crime that you ignore all the good things you've actually done. Amakongo, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. You know, one of the things that they actually have to do to showcase a better message on crime is actually talk about the things that just reduced crime, right? People can't just say, well, we just locked up more people, we put more people in prison. No, there were actual programs. There were things that were happening in communities. There were investments that were made. And this also helped for educational investments that were made as well. So they have to talk about that message. Also, as it relates to many of these independents and undecided voters, they need to hit them with these facts, because these are the people who are going to sway the election, obviously. And obviously, these are some of the people for whom crime is a serious issue. So they should be highlighting this report. They should be putting it, plastering it all over the place. But again, also not just say crime is down. We are the law and order party. But crime is down because, yes, we believe in law and order, but we also believe in investing in people. We look at all of the programs and jobs and things that were lost under COVID that didn't come back in many communities. The Biden administration, Harris administration helped bring those things back. So I feel like they can nuance this in a way that makes them look like they can be tough on crime, but can also be serious and compassionate about investing in our community. And I feel like, look, you're not going to get the MAGA folks. They're going to stick with the lies and the narrative that Trump has given and all of the stories that he's going to tell. But there is a real story that with their advertising dollars and their influence, and with these other Republicans, these military people who have, former Reagan folks, the Cheneys, who have come up there embracing Harris as well. These are people who can also be surrogates for Democrats in terms of talking about their message and what they've actually been doing to reduce crime. This is not happening by osmosis. This is happening by real, actual policies, and they need to highlight that.
But Jade, you have to do it in a way you explain to folks our policies work, and they are working. And so I think it has to be a constant thing. You can't abandon the things that you actually do.
Absolutely. And I think that you have to highlight those things, right? Because the Republican Party, their notion is that you have to be tough on crime. However, the new notion recently is that you're smart on crime, right? And that's the name of Kamala Harris' book. And one thing I admire that she did, I'm a former prosecutor of 7 years, and I started a Back on Track diversion program. I brought it to Prince George's County, Maryland, modeled directly after the program Kamala Harris started as Attorney General. So I think learning and being in court firsthand and seeing that you can't incarcerate your way out of crime, there's no way possible. It is time to come up with other alternatives. And what the Democratic parties have been doing, particularly starting in 2008. Can you hear me?
Looks like we're having an issue with, yeah, now we can hear you. Jay, go ahead.
Oh, particularly in 2018.
So Jay, we heard all of that. Your signal was choppy. We can hear you, but go ahead.
Okay, yeah, a lot of Democrats, what they were doing, and progressive district attorneys, which we always need those to speak up on our behalf, they were starting diversion programs, right, and alternatives to incarceration. But I think you stand them up in different jurisdictions and area, but you don't make them as known, right? You don't reiterate the work that you do and the importance of that work that you're doing. So I think that is something that we need to highlight so it won't be as discredited.
Julian.
I think one of the things that has to happen, first of all, I agree with both of my fellow panelists. I think Omekongo lays it down really well. But I think one of the things that has not happened, and this administration has done a great job in putting the numbers out there, but they don't put them out there aggressively enough. And so they've not tooted their own horn enough. And in not doing that, what we get is a vacuum of information that the Orange Man and his troops are able to distort. I think there is a correlation between the decrease in crime statistics and the decrease in what's happening in the employment situation. And I think there are economic reverberations. We need to talk about the fact that when you incarcerate a whole bunch of people, this is not a cheapie. It costs a lot of money. When you are able to divert people, we save money. So I think they need a narrative that really tackles the Orange Man's narrative in its face and say, no, this is what we've done. Again, my major criticism of the Biden-Harris administration is that they are not aggressive in tooting their horn. Now, I understand why. I understand we're in this precarious political time, but they could do the correlations. They have the people on their team. They have the economists on their team to really talk about how much money has been saved. How much money has been saved because crime rates have dropped. How many people have not been harmed? When you look at those FBI statistics, it's amazing to talk about virtually every category of crime has gone down. And what does that mean to your county budget, to your city budget, to your state budget? That's the attack I think they should take.
Well, and again, we're talking about crime being down, Jade, and the thing that I have been complaining about, they have had significant success when it comes to criminal justice efforts, holding people accountable, and the White House never talks about it. They literally never talk about police officers sent to jail, jail wardens, corrections folks, holding people accountable for hate crimes. And Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, has talked about it for some, but they have not even been aggressive in talking with that. So even on the flip side, when you try to communicate to folks who want criminal justice reform, they got to do better with that as well.
Yes, and I think that's where transparency comes in at as well, and holding everyone accountable. But yes, I think that's where transparency to say, hey, why aren't these things covered? Or like you said, particularly in law enforcement. That is something that I have noticed, that crime being down, the statistics are not often accounted for. And to be honest with you, Roland, I think strategically in policy, there's still some work to be done in that area, particularly when it comes to holding law enforcement accountable. And that's something that I think the Democratic and the Republican Party are not comfortable with yet. And that's a problem. That's the issue.
Makongo.
I think when it comes down to it, the Democrats have a strong opportunity right now to not only do a better job. Look, to be quite honest, all of these stories about like what the Justice Department is doing and locking people up and going after terrorists and racists and stuff, to be quite honest, I only hear it here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on our shows or watching other shows throughout the week. And so we are doing a better job of marketing this better than the Justice Department and the Biden administration. And quite honestly, with all of this stuff going on, they're talking about Ohio and Haitian and refugees and all of this other type of stuff. They have a great opportunity to reframe the narrative to talk about the fact that people who are here, who are migrants, are least likely to do crime, to talk about how these people are hardworking people. They have so much money that they can really frame a strong narrative right now that can talk about law and order, that can talk about migrants building the community, can talk about community programs as well, as our sister was saying, and they can do it. And look, Roland, they can create different advertisements for different markets if that's what it takes, because they have something that can speak to everybody as it relates to how they reduce crime. And since we know that in a lot of these surveys that are out, people look at Trump as being better on immigration and better on crime, this is an area that they can do a lot of work in, but they have the record to run on, they have the advertising dollars to do it, they just need to have a stronger political will to do so.
Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We come back more on Roland Martin Unfiltered, including Mark Robinson, the brother Republican in North Carolina. His team has abandoned his ship. He's down to 3 campaign staffers, and the Republicans say we ain't spending no more money on ads on this race. We'll talk about that. Folks, support the work that we do. Of course, send your check and money order to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. You want to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars make it possible for us to do what we do. PayPal is paypal.com/ME. PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com. Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We're having issues with the Cash App, so we're not showing you our Cash App. We're trying to work that thing out with them, but it is not fully worked out. So I'll let you know when we have that resolved with Cash App. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished?
There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion?
There has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up? Geek Tony in the place to be. Got Kicked Out Your Mama's University, creator and executive producer of Fat Tuesdays, a air hip-hop comedy. But right now, I'm rolling with Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
Well, the Democrats have launched a new billboard campaign showing Donald Trump is chicken because he has said, I'm not going to debate again. I'm not going to do it. Over the weekend, he had a rally where he was talking about that. Of course, CNN has offered a debate on October 23rd. Vice President Kamala Harris has already accepted. Trump is whining, saying he's not going to do it. And remember, after the last debate where they met, the Vice President Cam quickly said, hey, we down for a second one because they know they kicked us behind. And so his folks are trying to say, oh, no, her campaign is going so bad, it's awful. That's why they're trying to do a third debate. We've seen all these Republicans out there do the exact same thing. So check out this DNC chicken ad. The Dems plan to have a mobile billboard at Trump's rally in Pennsylvania, where those attending will actually see that particular ad. Also, the Lincoln Project dropped a brutal ad today with actor Sam Elliott doing the voiceover. We're going to talk about that on the flip side. Watch this.
I can't believe we're having this conversation again. So here we go.
You know who the candidates are. You know what's at stake. One candidate promises a divided America filled with lies and hate, and one stands for change. Kamala Harris has more courage, more honor, more guts than this guy ever had. So you decide, are we really going back down that same fucking broken road, or are we moving forward towards hope, towards freedom, towards change?
We know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success.
There's promise that lies in change, and the time for change is now. So what the hell are you waiting for? Because if it's the woman thing, it's time to get over that. It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
Yo, that was crazy there. So, of course, Sam Elliott, he starred in many movies and TV shows, of course. He has his rugged countryman looks, and ooh, Lord, MAGA has been losing their damn minds, y'all. They are upset, mad, talking about they going to stop watching his shows because he called them out. I loved it. I think it's a good. First of all, the Lincoln Project does great ads. I mean, look. Those former Republicans or still Republicans or never Trump Republicans, they know how to do some damn ads, Julian.
They absolutely do, and that was a powerful ad roll, and I really loved it too. I was sitting here. I don't know if y'all saw me chuckling over here, but the point is that we're coming down to the wire, and folks who are ambivalent, it's time for them to step up. And there are a number of issues, as we discussed earlier in this program, where there needs to be some stepping up. I want to go back for just a sec with the immigration issue from the perspective of this. We haven't done the economics of immigration. In other words, the orange man would tell us that they're taking black jobs, which that's the job he wants, a black job. But he would tell us this and that. But the fact is that we need immigrants. This country needs immigrants. Springfield, Ohio has Haitian immigrants because they needed them. They didn't embrace them because they were just magnanimous. They needed people to work there. And we need to make that point over and over again. But Congo has made the point. We need to make several points over and over again. Democrats need to be a lot more aggressive about the points that we need to make, as opposed to just letting this fool run roughshod over us and saying, oh, that's okay. Oh, that's okay. So that ad is the bomb, and it hits some of the issues. Are you man enough to vote for a woman? I think that's a really important point. And I think it's really important that a guy who is identified as a macho man is making that point. Now, we know how narrow it is in the margin. We know we're talking about 1% here, 1% there. So I don't know who it will sway. But good for him for doing it. Good for the Lincoln Project. You're right. The Lincoln Project does good work. And so we just have to shout them out for that. We agree with them all the time, but they basically do good work. And there are a lot of people who are kind of, coalescing around what the orange man is trying to do. And our job is to lift them up. And Roland, let me just say this to you. I was, where was I? And people were rolling up to Roland Martin is a bomb. What you're doing is such a public service, because these are some of the stories that we don't hear. So I want to just thank you for that, because we really have to be clear that unless we're aggressive, we are aggressive in calling these fools out on their nonsense, they will continue to do it, and nobody, mainstream media will not check them. Will not check them.
Oh, in fact, I was reading. I think Kara Swisher has a podcast, and she was on with this guy, and this guy was complaining. He was saying it was great seeing her on CNN fact-checking this Republican in real time, and they were on Abby Phillips' show, and he was actually upset. He was like, yo, he said, I like her. He said, but how do you not fact-check in real time? How do you let people come on there and lie about things and you don't fact-check them in real time? That's what I love. Now, I'm a Congo. I love about this particular ad. I love Sam Elliott going right there. If it's about the woman thing, basically get over it.
Yep. I thought it was masterful. And this is the same thing that we're seeing the white dudes for Trump, white dudes for Harris are doing as well. They are going straight to the idea of manhood. You know, I saw an interview with Hillary Clinton the other day, and she was talking about, people talk all this stuff about, I haven't seen Kamala Harris's policies and all that stuff yet. And Hillary said, I had more policies prepared than any president in history. And people just didn't give a damn to look at them because they wanted any excuse possible not to vote for me. And that's what they're doing with Vice President Harris now. They're saying, oh, I don't know her, I don't know this. And we can end up going down the same trap of people who just don't feel comfortable voting for a woman. Because, you know, Biden was equally as prepared as Hillary, just in different ways, but he was a man. And I feel like that was the only thing that pushed him over the edge as it relates to Trump. They both had baggage. And so even though Vice President Harris has the wind at her back right now, the fact that she is a woman was going to turn a lot of people off. So ads like this, things that white dudes for Harris are doing as well, these are really powerful because they go right at people's manhood and they're targeting them to get off for all of these nonsensical stereotypes, stop living in the past like Trump and all his acolytes are, and get up here and do the right thing. Just like they say voting for Kamala Harris doesn't make you a Democrat, it makes you a patriot. Voting for Kamala Harris and you're a man doesn't make you some type of wimp. It makes you somebody who's standing up for your family and the future of this country.
Well, I'll tell you this here, Jade, I love the chicken ad as well. Just mock him as much as you can. He hates being mocked, and so I love it. Guys, roll that again. I think that's pretty good, Jay.
Listen, it is very comical and very true. One of the things that I love about the Lincoln Project is that they always have out-of-the-box commercials and opportunities, but they are generally true, on the truer side. But one thing I will say, you are so right. Trump hates being mocked, but I think the majority of us with common sense, we all look at Trump as if, you know, he's a Mad TV comedy special, right? Or a comedy skit. Where it gets dangerous is that the other people who don't see him that way are as entertaining, and the audience doesn't realize or care that he's actually dangerous, right? So I think with this opportunity, and this advertisement is given an opportunity to say is that, hey, there's someone who looks like him who would ordinarily probably be put in the same category as him. However, I'm speaking on behalf of this lady that you would just have a fit of a woman was put into this position. You don't want to answer under her. You cannot, respond to her. You don't even see her as a human, essentially. However, I'm defending her and I'm on her side against you. So yes, I think they should keep playing it. I think they said they have a costume that people are going to wear to the rally in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to see what train tickets are going that way and see if I can be part of it, because I need to see this costume, this chicken costume, in person.
All right, y'all. I go to the break. We come back. Lord have mercy. Janet Jackson, what the hell? I'm trying not to talk about this here, but we bust. We'll be right back. Rolling Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment. For the woman? Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Janet Jackson, Janet Jackson, Janet Jackson, Janet. Okay, y'all, she's the latest black celebrity to spread misinformation about Vice President Kamala Harris. In an interview with The Guardian, y'all, published Saturday, to promote the second leg of her concert tour, Janet Jackson claimed she heard that Kamala Harris was not black and the vice president's daddy was white. Here's what the reporter wrote. On For Us, it was about making a difference in a kid's life, a teenager's life, from them taking this path with drugs and going down the wrong street, trying to make something of themselves. On that record, she sang about joining voices in protest to social injustice and pushing toward a world rid of color lines. I wonder where she stands on the forthcoming election. After all, I say, America could be on the verge of voting in its first black female president, Kamala Harris. Well, you know what they supposedly said, she asked me. She's not black. That's what I heard, that she's Indian. She looks at me expectantly, perhaps assuming that I have Indian heritage. Well, she's both, I offer. Her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days, she coughs. I was told that they discovered her father was white. I'm floored at this point. It's well known that Harris's father is a Jamaican economist, a Stanford professor who split from her Indian mother when she was 5. Quote, my mother understood very well that she was raising 2 black daughters, Harris wrote in her book, The Truths We Hold. The people who are most vocal in questioning the facts of Harris's identity tend to be hardcore QAnon-adjacent, Trump-loving conspiracy theorists. I don't think Jackson falls into that camp, but I do wonder what the algorithms are serving her. I start again. Harris has dual heritage, I say. And given this moment, does Jackson think America's ready for her if we agree she's black? Or, okay, a woman of color? I don't know, Jackson stage whispers. Honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really truthfully don't know. I think either way it goes, it's going to be mayhem. Now, a number of outlets reported that Janet Jackson issued an apology for the comments based upon a statement from Mo El Masri, okay, who said he represented Jackson and is listed as the singer's manager on IMDb Pro. Well, a person close to Jackson who spoke anonymously later told the Post that El Masri does not represent the singer. El Masri also came out publicly and said that he was fired by Janet Jackson and Randy Jackson as a result of that statement. Now, Janet Jackson has not apologized for those comments. So let me say this here, y'all. And so this is the first time I'm actually revealing this. So in 2019, we went on the Tom Joyner Morning Show cruise, the Fantastic Voyage cruise. And Janet Jackson performed. And so what we did was Tom would have all of the people who were on the show around a massive square table. And we were all basically record the show asking questions. So we interviewed Janet. So it was Tom, it was Sybil, it was Jay, it was Chris Paul, Huggy Lowdown, it was myself. It was like everybody who was on the show. So everybody's asking different questions. So this is 2019. Vice President Kamala Harris is running. And I remember I asked the question, was Janet Jackson going to endorse, or was she, really focused on the election? And so she gave, I can't remember what the hell she said. I don't know what kind of non-answer she sort of gave. Like, I'm not really whatever. I'm not quite remember. So check this out. So like 2 hours later, Tom comes up to me, pissed. He's like, because of your question, we can't really interview. I said, what are you talking about? Well, her people came in and they were like, nope, can't really interview. And then Tom said, we offered to them, hey, we'll just edit out Roland's question and her answer. Nope, and not at all, can't run the whole interview at all. And it never ran. It never did. Now, if I was Tom, I'd run the damn interview now. I don't give a shit. But I'm sitting there going, how is it now 3 days later, and you, Janet Jackson, still haven't issued an apology for that stupid-ass comment you made? Now, let me be real clear, okay? I think Janet Jackson is a fantastic entertainer. Puts on a great show. But this was a dumb-ass comment. And asinine. And you got the reporter sitting there telling you it's not true, and you say nothing. So here you are. You haven't corrected it. So what you're telling us is you're perfectly fine with the lie being out there. So you said nothing. Randy has said nothing. And that's just dumb. First of all, how many biracial people are in the Jackson family? How many of her brothers have married non-black people? And you literally are questioning, oh, I heard her dad was white. What the hell are you reading, Janet? And who you hear it from? Not only that, this woman was the Attorney General of California when you lived there. Did you walk past a TV set? I am so through with a lot of these black entertainers really being stuck on stupid with some of the comments that they're making. It's just dumb. And then it's, so it's going to cause, there's going to, first of all, here's probably the most true, honestly, I don't want to answer that because I really truthfully don't know. Well, why your ass talking about it? Why didn't you give The Guardian the same answer you gave me on the Tom Joyner Morning Show Fantastic Voyage Cruise 5 years ago? Then folks wouldn't be lighting your ass up. Memo to all entertainers, especially black ones. If you don't know shit about politics, shut up. Please. Because you look like a damn fool. Julian, go.
Well, I hate to quote Laura Ingraham, who told some brothers to shut up and dribble. But I would tell Janet Jackson, shut up and sing, girl. That you okay at that. You ain't that good at that either, but you're okay at that. You can sing. But do not get yourself involved in politics because you don't know what you are talking about. And like you said, she lived in California. She knew this sister was black. She knew she was the attorney general. I just want to know who's paying her bills because that's what it boils down to. You cannot be jackass. I try not to cuss on your show, Roland, just so I don't emulate you. But you know, I do cuss a lot. But you show yourself up to be a total jackass. What is wrong with you? And why are you doing this now? And there are going to be some young people and some stupid people who are going to emulate you, and you need to dial it back. You just need to dial it back. People have admired you for years. We think, whatever. We've admired you for years, even though you've been a little but stupid about some stuff. But frankly, no, this is not your platform. Go sit someplace and sang something unusual, but don't talk this mess. I'm like totally over it. I'm like you. I'm totally over it.
And again, listen, if you don't know, just say you don't know and keep it moving, Congo. But to also make this comment, get all this blowback, and then you ain't sat here and so your manager issues an apology, then y'all walk the apology back? So y'all want the lie to still sit out there? That's dumb. And all y'all other people, I see some of y'all fools talking about FBA and all that, and talking about, oh, Janet's an icon, Roland Martin, you shilling. All y'all can kiss my entire ass.
Yo, straight.
Because let me be clear, ain't nobody beyond getting criticized, whether you Janet Jackson or anybody else. If you say something stupid, guess what? You're gonna get called out. Go ahead, Congo.
Yeah, so much for, all of the peace and Rhythm Nation and all of that other type of stuff she was singing about. This is another reminder that our entertainers are not our leaders unless they choose to get out there and do the work. I'm thinking of, the John Legends of the world, the people who are out there, know what they're talking about, engage in activism. And Janet Jackson, it's funny how this Trump campaign, all of his campaigns, all three of them, have really destroyed people's legacies. Like people who normally didn't say nothing, try to come out and be on this side or that side and just manifested their ignorance in ways that Janet is doing. And to let this happen and go on for 3 days, like you said, and not issue any apology, this is the non-apology apology, right? Meaning that by her not saying anything, she's fueling the flames of more ignorance and disrespect towards Vice President Harris. But another thing I want to talk about is that, Vice President Harris's lineage is actually an opportunity for us to reframe the conversation about how we look at race. Because the fact of the matter is that you can't be half black and half Indian, right? Like black is a race, Indian is a nationality. She is a black American woman of Indian and Jamaican heritage. Like it's like religion, like saying you have British and half Muslim or something, right? So her beautiful heritage gives us an opportunity to really reframe and understand race a little bit better in America. It should be an opportunity for a conversation as opposed to all of this argument and all of this ignorance and all this hate at a woman who is just like Julian Bond said, if you dissect America, let her spell out I am race. So really at the end of the day, what you're doing, Roland, what Dr. Marvo's talking about, like all of us can use her heritage as an opportunity to reframe the conversation. And all of these folks who are staying ignorant out there, and if you're not going to come out and apologize and recognize how wrong you are, then we have no choice but to call you out, no matter how much we love your music. That does not give you a pass.
And that's the piece right there, Jade. I don't care. You don't get a pass. If you say something dumb, and then you don't want to correct it and say, hey, y'all, my bad. I got some bad information. I appreciate y'all letting me know what the truth is. But the reality is the reporter told you the damn truth. And you didn't sit here and say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Thank you for correcting me. No, you didn't go on to my honestly to answer that because I really truly don't know. I think either way it goes, is going to be mayhem. What the hell are you talking about is going to be mayhem? First of all, Janet, you don't even live here. You in London.
Right, and Janet is the perfect definition of what I would define as strong and wrong. She's one of those people, right? You've had several opportunities to walk back, retract, redact. You could have sent a tweet. You could have sent, a pigeon with a message in his mouth. You could have sent anything to retract those comments, and you made no attempt. Actually, you doubled down on them. Also, like you said, Roland, there's so many family members in the Jackson family that are biracial, and there are ones that are not biracial that want to be biracial, and we already know that. So even though Janet Jackson is arguably one of the best pop artists of all times, that doesn't equate to being qualified enough to give political advice, especially if I've never heard from you before give any type of political advice or thoughtful insight on anything besides music. This is the wrong time to practice. If you do want to turn over that leaf and you want a new profession, this is not the time, sis. We need a different response from you this time. We need a different representation for you for these next 2 months. I completely understand that I'm unqualified to give choreography or vocal advice, right? So I think what Janet Jackson has done first-handedly has shown what the dangers of spreading falsities based on her family's experience with the media looks like, right? She's been through this. She's been through this for decades and decades with all of her siblings, including herself. So she's one of the people that I would say, don't listen to the message or the messenger in this stance. And it just shows how out of touch celebrities can be.
Yeah, I have said this numerous times to celebrities. Get some people y'all asses can call before you open your mouth. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are a number of celebrities who, I'm telling y'all, stuff goes down. Hey, Ro, explain to me what's going on. Got it. I give them the rolling notes. Y'all got the cliff notes and the rolling notes. All right, let me break it down for you real easy. They ask first. If they unclear, hey, let me run it by you. But you don't sit here, and then the other thing is, if her team shut down, they literally came in, y'all can't run an interview. Where in the hell were y'all in this interview? Was nobody around her going, right. That ain't right, that's wrong. Let's correct that before it get out there. We don't want it to get out there. What the hell? I'm telling you, I just...
It's sad.
And the fact that this is Monday, the interview dropped Saturday. Mm-hmm. This guy comes out with an apology. Y'all walk back his apology, which means that Janet and her team got no problem with the lie sitting out there. That, to me, is even more egregious, that after you've been corrected, you still won't... First of all, you got corrected by the reporter, and then you get corrected by the public, and your ass still ain't saying nothing. Right. So I'm sorry, all the smoke that she's getting, baby,
she deserves it.
You done earned every single bit of it because you did this and nobody else did it. Maybe she need to listen to that song, her own song, Discipline. Because she needs some political discipline. Let me go to a break. We'll be right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Some of y'all heard the song Discipline. Y'all know what the hell I'm talking about. Support us on the Black Star Network. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing on average $50 each, $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. That's what it comes out to. If you can't give that, you give less. Look, we appreciate that. Every single thing helps. Hey, if you can give more, we appreciate that as well, because we ain't got millionaires and billionaires supporting this show. Folks, send me a check. Money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is paypal.me/rmartinunfiltered. Vimeo is vimeo.com/rmunfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Like I said, we're sorting out all this drama with Cash App, and so we'll give you the details of that when we have it. We'll be right back.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment for the woman. Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hello, we're the Critter Fixers. I'm Dr. Bernard Hodges.
And I'm Dr. Terrence Ferguson.
And you're tuned in to
Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Well, folks, an Ohio sheriff wrote a post on Facebook telling people to write down the addresses of people with signs for Kamala Harris in their yards. Well, as a result of that post, the sheriff's office has been kicked off of election duty. Portage County Sheriff Bruce Zakowski, a Donald Trump supporting Republican who's running for re-election, said, quote, when people ask me what's going to happen if the flip-flopping, laughing hyena wins, I say write down all the addresses of the people who had our signs in their yard. So when the illegal human locusts, which she supports, need places to live, will already have the address of their new families who supported their arrival. Well, on Friday, the local elections board in Portage County, in a 3-1 vote, voted to remove the sheriff's office from providing security during in-person absentee voting. The Ohio Secretary of State's office ruled that Zukowski's post didn't break state election laws, but it damn sure broke common sense laws. And I really hope that the Democratic opponent for this sheriff beats his ass in November. Makongo.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is voter intimidation. Look, this is the social media world. We know that nothing ever gets deleted. We know once you put something out there, it's out there. And this actually kind of connects to the Janet Jackson segment, because once again, people are showing their ignorance or they're showing their true colors outright. And people who are supporting Trump, who are in positions of power, they feel like they can get out there and say ignorant things. They can say racist things. They can say things that are misogynistic and throw out all of this other stuff, laughing hyena and all of this other types. And these are the people who are supposed to be protecting us during voting. I mean, but hey, I bet you this will get Trump's attention. And I bet you, heaven forbid, should Trump get another term, he's going to be the guy who's going to be angling for some type of position. The way that these guys put themselves out there is just really disgraceful and disrespectful. And he should not be wearing a badge. You're supposed to be serving and protecting everybody. Everybody's supposed to feel like they should be safe in your presence. And the fact that you're going to get out there and put out something like this, face no consequences, right? No consequences whatsoever, and then think you're just going to have the right to get out there and be out there, serving the people as relates to this election. This isn't another aspect of voter intimidation, and I would not want to walk into any voting precinct and see that person's face or anybody who represents that particular branch. It's just wrong, and there should be some type of greater consequence because of it.
Well, that's why listen, these MAGA people, they show their true colors, Jade. They do this all the time, and we're seeing it.
What this reminds me of a little bit is of the insurrection and the J6, right? It kind of essentially serves as a threat and a fear tactic. And unfortunately, I feel like it's going to work on some people. It's just really unfortunate that it would be the leaders of the state, that it would be law enforcement, as you stated, in the sheriff's office, that would even serve as a scare tactic themselves that would do this. But in a way, it kind of incites violence, if you ask me, because that is something that I can foresee happening at the polls right now. And as you already stated, I would not want to go vote and have that sheriff's office or any of his employees at the voting location. I would absolutely fear what type of retaliation I would receive, and then just fear what would happen indoors and outdoors after I've left.
Julian?
These people are going precinct by precinct and county by county to figure out ways to intimidate voters. From the Georgia law that says anybody can challenge another voter, come on now. Anybody can challenge another voter, to the sheriff who says he will not protect people. What they're saying, they're setting up a atmosphere of fear, so that there will be people, many people will vote because it's our heritage. But some will say, I'm not fooling with that. I will go back to some of the things that happened in the 1940s and 1950s, really the 1940s, when black men were lynched, because they simply went to register to vote. Now, we're not there anymore, so I know people always say I'm a little extreme about this, but basically what we're saying is if you go to vote, you will be challenged. No American citizen should be challenged because they go to vote. This is what we're seeing, and it really is, we both said it all the time, Democrats play checkers and Republicans play chess. They've been playing this stuff for a while. They play it precinct by precinct, county by county, state by state, where we keep people away from the polls. Because this election is going to be so close, that it's going to be decided by 1%. And if you can get 0.5% away from the polls, you will win. Barbara Arnwine and her team, and there are many others, NAACP Legal Defense Fund, are going to be out there making sure that people have the opportunity to vote. But this is just evil. It's evil, and it really is their desperate attempt to turn the clock back.
Well, folks, the National Teamsters, they, of course, chose not to endorse, but these individual chapters in states keep doing their own thing. Now, of course, the Pennsylvania Conference of Teamsters have come out in support of Vice President Kamala Harris, officially endorsing her. The 95,000-member Pennsylvania Conference on Teamsters Leadership cited Harris and Walls' support for unions, fair wages, and improved working conditions. In their announcements, the Pennsylvania Conference of Teamsters President William Hamilton indicated that his membership would work to tilt battleground Pennsylvania toward the Harris-Walz ticket. On Friday, Missouri, Nebraska, and Kansas Teamsters also endorsed the Democratic ticket. One of the things that I find to be really interesting here, Julian, is that I've seen Teamsters leaders say on the group that was going through this, they wanted to endorse Harris, that it was their leader, Sean O'Brien, who was not trying to do that. And they also have not been releasing information about this, straw poll taken, how many members actually voted. They're not being transparent about this.
That's the issue. Who voted? What were the numbers? Because what we know is that Harris-Walz, both of them individually and collectively, have been strongly supportive of unions. Teamsters would have no GD pension had it not been for Biden-Harris. They were losing their pension, and Biden-Harris stepped in. So what's wrong with these ingrates? What is wrong with the way that they're approaching this? But, many of them, frankly, although the locals and many others, as we're seeing, as the dominoes fall down, support Harris-Walz, many of them are aligned with the Orange Man, and they're aligned with him because he promised them something. I don't know what he promised them. I wasn't in the room. But we do know that there's some crooked stuff going on here. We know that there are a lot of people who support the Orange Man against their own interests. Because many of them, especially when you're looking at working class white men, are basically dealing with their race over their economics. This is problematic. However, I'm applauding those unions who come out. They will probably have some challenges, reverberations, but good for them, applauding them. And we know if we take the Trump or the Republican platform and put it up against the Democratic platform, who stands for working people and who stands for working women in particular? And we know it's Harris-Walz. So I don't know what they did in the back room, but they did something.
Jake?
So one of the things that I noticed is that this is the first time in nearly 3 decades that they have not endorsed any political candidate. I know they're generally on the fence. They're generally endorsing the Democratic candidate, but this time they kind of withdrew, right? But outside of the local Teamsters, which I give them credit for, because I'm sure that was something very brave that they had to do in the Midwestern states, particularly states like Michigan, my home base state. So I give them, for the, I won't say I give them props, but basically, yeah, I give them props for the courage that they're making on a more progressive lens. However, I think that it's still not enough. But I do give the over 1 million locals that have decided to endorse Vice President Kamala Harris, I do give them applaud for their actions.
Makongo.
I just kind of got a vibe from Sean O'Brien. I kind of feel like he's kind of just angling for something else. There's a certain level of, angling to be, a Fox commentator or something, or some type of larger platform that I feel like he's aiming for. I just never got a vibe that he was really representing the interests of where the Teamsters wanted to go. And I'm not saying every Teamster wanted to be down for Harris, but I feel like there are more Teamsters groups coming out locally that are endorsing Harris than Trump at the moment. And so given what you were talking about, the straw poll and all of these things, I'm suspicious about what actually went down here. I feel like the leadership, they felt like they were a little bigger than they, too big for their britches, right? They kind of thought they were bigger than they actually were. And I feel like this is why these local branches of Teamsters are coming out. And this is really good because it's kind of a through line for everything we've been talking about today. This is the time where you have to take a stand. You are either for this democratic experiment or you are not. And you have to show where you're going to be. And for them to do it in Pennsylvania, particularly that group, I think is really powerful given the challenges that the Harris campaign is facing there. But look, you can't both sides this. If, not endorsing this crew or that, not endorsing Trump, not endorsing Harris, no. We're just, when you look at people like everybody from the Cheneys to, musicians like Billie Eilish, just everybody's making a decision. You can't be on the fence right now. And so these local teams are just saying, we're not going to be on the fence. We're riding with the people who have been riding with us. And that starts with the Biden administration, now going down to a potential Harris administration. And they made the right choice. And I just don't trust Sean O'Brien and where he's going with the national leadership of this organization. And I don't think he has much time there, to be honest.
All right, folks, hold tight 1 second. We come back. We're going to talk with the family of a black man, a principal who was shot and killed in his high-rise in Chicago a year ago, but they still have not gotten any justice. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered, right here in the Black Star Network, broadcasting live from Atlanta. Back in a moment.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it. And I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts themselves over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment for the woman. Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hello, I'm Paula J. Parker. Truly proud on the Proud Family.
I am Tommy Davidson. I play Oscar on Proud Family, Louder and Proud.
Hi, I'm Jo Marie Payton, voice of Sugar Mama on Disney's Louder and Prouder, Disney Plus. And I'm with Roland Martin on Unfiltered.
Folks, it's been more than a year since a neighbor fatally shot Chicago educator Abner Joseph while he was experiencing a mental health crisis and was knocking on neighbors' doors. The assistant principal's death was ruled a homicide. Now, the police know who shot him, but still no charges have been filed against the white man who pulled the trigger. The family is resorting to civil suit as a means of gathering the evidence necessary to determine what happened in those final moments of Joseph's life. The family attorney says the killing was not self-defense. They said the shooter hunted Abner throughout the building. Abner Joseph's brother, Jay Charles, and one of the family's attorneys, Jason Fredell, join us right now. Glad to have both of you here. Jason, I want to start with you. Explain him being hunted down. What do y'all mean by that?
So it's very simple. First off, thank you for having us on. As we just passed what you alluded to as a terrible anniversary. On September 14th of 2023, Abner was having a moment of mental crisis. He needed help. Police had been called, and yet a neighbor took it upon himself to exit his own condo unit and, accompanied by other men in the building, pursue, chase, follow, whatever you want to call it, Abner over several stories in the building. The ultimate confrontation, which led to Abner's death, took place 19 stories above the floor which Abner and the shooter shared. So that's why I call it a chase.
Whoa. So this wasn't Abner knocking on somebody's door as if he's trying to barge in.
No.
What floor was he living on?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the 29th floor. Jay can correct me on this. I've always focused on the fact that it's been 19 stories that were the pursuit took place over. And no, he was not knocking on this person.
So I don't want to be clear. So Abner lived on what floor? The 9th floor?
29th.
20.
So, sorry.
On 29th. The shooting took place on what floor?
19 stories above that.
48th floor.
Okay. So that's a high rise. If this was a neighborhood, this is essentially if you chase somebody 10 blocks.
Not just 10 blocks.
10 blocks.
Blocks would suggest.
I'm just trying to put in the minds of people. I mean, I lived in a high rise in Chicago. If he lived on if he lived on the 29th floor, and he's shot and killed 19 floors above, I mean, that's like if something happens on your street and you pursue somebody for 8 or 10 or 12 blocks and you shoot them. How the hell you don't get arrested?
That's the question we've had. That's the question we've been asking why over and over again for almost a year since my involvement in this matter began. What is the basis of the prosecutorial inaction here? Because the prosecutorial inaction is frankly devastating to Abner's family and to his legacy. Because these prosecutors are the gatekeepers to obtaining justice, but not just that. They're the gatekeepers for Abner's family gaining truth. Yes, as you alluded to, we filed a civil action to start the process of collecting that information. But when the shooter is now able to say, I don't want to answer anything because of the possibility of criminal charges, the family is still not getting the answers to the questions we want to ask. Why did you leave your condo unit? Why did you feel it was necessary to bring a gun? Why did you not wait for CPD? And why did you pursue Abner over several stories, then confront him with other people with you and have the mindset to pull a gun at that point and shoot an unarmed man who was in his boxers and bathrobes 7 times? Why? We can't ask that question, and we won't be able to ask the question until the criminal process is underway.
Jay, have y'all gotten access to, I mean, I'm sure this building had cameras on every floor. I mean, Have y'all seen anything? Have the cops provided y'all anything along those lines where you have an understanding of what happened?
That'll be a question for the lawyer. We've been trying to seek answers for the longest. As far as cameras, they did state that there are no cameras on any hallways in the building. So at this point, just as Jason alluded, we are seeking a civil suit so we could collect all the data that's necessary to actually get the answers that we need. It's been more than a year, and we're still waiting for justice.
What I can say, the police.
Wait a minute, Jason. Yeah, Jason, go ahead. Jake, go ahead.
I was going to say what we have received from the police is their initial report, and it's been redacted. What we do know from this report is that the shooter admits to what he did. When the police arrived, he still had a 9mm Sig Sauer in his pocket that he turned over to the police and said words to the effect, "I just shot a man." That's why perhaps he was taken into custody that evening, but why he was let go and why he is still free of any charges is an absolute mystery to us and to Abner's family.
Shooting took place on the 48th floor. How tall was this building?
I believe it's 72 stories, if I'm not mistaken.
It is
72 floors.
It is. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
No, my bad.
No, not at all. It is one of the largest condo units. It overlooks Millennium Park. This is a high-profile luxury building, mind you. So we need to keep that in mind as well when we look at the context of this shooting. This didn't occur in any sort of circumstances where you might say, okay, things like this happen. It should not have happened.
Okay, but here's where I'm confused. A 72-story high-rise ain't no cameras?
We have heard that there are some cameras, but we have not had anything produced to us. Everything is still evidence of an ongoing criminal investigation at this point. So, unfortunately, that is an answer that we get to a lot of our inquiries.
So where it stands right now, is the issue with Chicago PD, or is it with Cook County State's Attorney's Office?
Well, that's going to be a little bit of second guessing on my part, but I can say that it has been indicated to us that the police have conducted a pretty full investigation. Perhaps they wanted to talk to one or more people. So we have repeatedly called for there to be some sort of action out of the state's attorney's office and from Kim Foxx before she leaves that office.
But the reason I'm asking that is because, again, police can charge. Prosecutors then take it from there. Has Chicago Police Department charged this man in this case?
They have not. There has there been any sort of recommendation that we're aware of. So your frustration, as I can see on your face right now, is only the beginning of the type and level of frustration that Jay and Abner's family have been experiencing all this time.
Jay, you're an attorney. You got any questions?
I do have questions. So have you all followed up with the prosecutor's office, and have they given you any response at all?
The only responses we get is there is an open investigation, and we expect there to be some sort of movement in a month, and then a month later, and a month later, and a month later.
Okay. And are you guys looking to file to ask the DOJ or any federal agencies to investigate as well?
We have not approached any federal sources for an additional investigation at this time. There is an investigation that's been done. We do have to follow the process to some point, but that point has now quickly reached its end point. It cannot just proceed this way with no answers for the family.
You are absolutely right. And my final question is, one part that really disturbed me in the story is that it was obvious that he had dealt with mental health issues and was dealing with the mental health crisis at the time. So are there any mental health agencies or organizations, or the school that he taught for with 700, my understanding, minority, Black and Hispanic children that he made such a large impact on, who were dealing with their mental health issues themselves? So he is a great loss to the community and that community at the school and the education community. So has there been any interactions with any mental health agencies or anything of that sort?
There have not been any interactions with mental health agencies at this time, but I also want to caution that the narrative getting too deep into mental health detracts from what was going on. And here, Abner did not have a history of any sort of mental breaks where you would say, oh, this has happened before, we would expect it again. We do know that he had recently had a medication change, and that is likely a factor of what was happening here. But he was not somebody who had ever exhibited this kind of behavior or the alleged behavior before. I do want to say, you mentioned the students. It cannot be lost on anyone the impact it has had on these students. These students have been very clear about the losses that they have experienced through Abner. They have painted a mural of Abner on the wall of the school. His first year there was something in the order of a 70 or 72% reduction in bullying and a 50% reduction in student-on-student violence. This was a man who was doing everything right for the community. And when I say the community, I mean the community at large, for all of us, helping these children become what they need to for our society.
Thank you.
Jason Friedel, Jay Charles, gentlemen, I appreciate this. Keep us abreast of what happens next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Folks, we come back, Black and Missing, and also I'm going to show you a preview of a new documentary dropping tomorrow about what took place on January 6th. It's going to be shown for free on YouTube. I'm going to show you that trailer when we come back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
He told us who he was.
Should abortion be punished? There has to be some form of punishment.
Then he showed us.
For 54 years, they were trying to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I did it, and I'm proud to have done it.
Now Donald Trump wants to go further with plans to restrict birth control, ban abortion nationwide, even monitor women's pregnancies. We know who Donald Trump is. He'll take control. We'll pay the price.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
And the nation's highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is a danger to our troops and our democracy. We can't let him lead our country again.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
IVF is a miracle for us because it allowed us to have our family. After having my daughter, I wanted more children, but my embryo transfer was canceled 8 days before the procedure. Donald Trump overturning Roe v. Wade stopped us from growing the family that we wanted. I don't want politicians telling me how or when I can have a baby. We need a president that will protect our rights, and that's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
The overturning of Roe almost killed me. I had a blood clot in my uterus that caused my labor to have to be induced because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wasn't able to get life-saving treatment sooner. I almost died. And that's because of the decision that Donald Trump made.
I was able to get Roe v. Wade terminated, and I'm proud to have done it.
The doctors and nurses were afraid that if they treated me in the incorrect way, that they would be prosecuted for that. And that's appalling. Donald Trump says that women should be punished.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? There has to be some form of punishment for the woman. Yeah.
I believe that women should have reproductive freedom to make the choices about their own bodies. 4 more years of Donald Trump means that women's rights will continue to be taken away one by one by one by one. This has to stop because women are dying.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Here's a 78-year-old billionaire who has not stopped whining about his problems.
Oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
This weird obsession with crowd sizes. It just goes on and on and on. America's ready for a new chapter. We are ready for a President Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Franklin. It is always a pleasure to be in the house. You are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Stay right here.
Tajay Dorsey Wardlow disappeared from his Champaign, Illinois home on July 18th. The 17-year-old is 5 feet 10 inches tall, weighs 150 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Anyone with information about Tajay Dorsey Wardlow should call the Champaign, Illinois Police Department at 217-333-8911, 217-333-8911. Y'all, tomorrow, a documentary called Fight Like Hell is going to be dropping on YouTube. It's never before seen footage of January 6th, shot with a high-end red camera. Phenomenal footage, and the director of this, John Long, said his goal was to show what actually happened and assemble all of this. Again, it's going to be shown on free on YouTube tomorrow. Here is a preview.
This is not an election between Republicans and Democrats. This is an epic struggle for the future of this country between dark and light. We will win this fight, or America will step off into 1,000 years of darkness.
We're going to protect this president by stopping the steal. Stop the steal! Stop the steal! When I went to bed on election night, he was ahead.
The system is a lie. The ballot counting's a lie.
It's called democracy. You count every single vote.
We did not have a free, fair, and transparent vote.
Joe Biden will be removed one way or another.
1776 commenced tonight!
We are at war.
A spiritual war for the soul of this country.
The situation we're in is a situation of treason. The punishment for treason is death.
The president watches these rallies, and he's watching you today.
Warning you guys now.
You can't stop it. It's coming tomorrow.
What makes America great?
The United States Constitution is different from every other country in the world.
Are you willing to do what it takes? Will you fight for America?
This election was stolen. The president is willing to stake his reputation that we're going to find criminality there. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. We must stop the steal, and we fight. We fight like hell. If you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Now, Julian, conservatives have been doing all they can, saying, oh, people don't want to care about January 6th. That's crap. And I think people right now, as we're getting ready to vote, should care about January 6, 2021, because these thugs, these domestic terrorists are still here. A number of them have been put in jail. What happened on that day? But these people, they want to do the exact same thing. And guess what? Beating Trump's ass at the ballot box on November 5th will also shut these people down. And they're going to still be here, but trust me, handing him an L is the best thing that could happen to America.
You know, Roland, what we do at the election is that we need to make sure that he doesn't just lose, but he loses big time. All the projections are talking about a percentage point, a fraction of a percentage point, and we talked earlier about some of these states are doing to mess with people in terms of their voting. We need to have a decisive victory for the Democrats. We've got to start basically addressing some of these young people who don't want to vote, who don't think it's important. There's a really great, effective commercial from young women who said, if you want to vote for you, vote for me. And, you know, I'm thinking back to the time when someone actually died in my dormitory in 1971 or 2, because the girl was trying to get an abortion and she couldn't. And that just takes me back. Are we going back that far? So I think that it's really important for those who care about this democracy, as flawed as it is, to really step up and step out and start talking. I mean, John Legend has a great commercial on talking about vote. Other people are stepping up. It's Carole King talking about vote. They're not rabid Democrats. They're rabid patriots. And so, you know, I will say, this whole thing depresses me, but it depresses me to the point of being very active. Because what we have to say is that you use it or lose it. Use it or lose it. And I'm really very frustrated by some of our younger folks who don't want to vote. I'm frustrated by, I have a sibling who says he's not sure where he's going. And I don't want to get on a plane and go to San Francisco and hit him upside the head and like, fool. But like my last thing to him was, look, boy, you live in California. You don't matter. But you know, it's like, well, I'm trying to weigh the differences. But there are a lot of people like that. He's not the only one. So we've got to ramp it up. She can win and she can win it big, but it's going to be if we do the work that needs to be done.
Hey, bottom line for me, Jade, is 270. I don't give a damn if I understand if it's 350 electoral college votes, all you need is 270 to win. But the point here is people need to understand January 6th, these people wanted to overthrow the results of the election. Yeah. We cannot reward domestic terrorists with allowing them to win again.
And as you said, yes, domestic terrorists and bullies. Quite frankly, I'll call them what they are. They are political bullies, right? Or not even political sometimes. A lot of them were ignorant that were out there and no telling what type of careers that they had, if they had any at all or anything to lose. So a lot of them are going to be bullies. So that's why I think it's so important to not forget January the 6th, because we know what bullies can do when they don't get their way. However, we don't care, right? We don't care. We're going to make sure that Kamala Harris is in office. So these bullies, because as I say, ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, right? It's not going to be any fun when we have the official power and control. So, yeah.
Congo.
Look, when it comes down to it, we have to make sure that this memory of what happened on January 6th stays fresh in people's mind, because not only are people acting like it wasn't a big deal, they're lying and telling stories that nobody even died. You know, Trump, except they want to talk about Ashley Babbitt, right? They don't want to talk about Officer Sicknick and other people. So they're lying and they're reforming a narrative. And even people who condemn Trump, like Bolton, you know, who's in his administration, he calls January 6th a riot, doesn't even call it an insurrection. And so they still have a narrative that's going as it relates to that they are putting out every single day. And I'm glad that this documentary is coming out tomorrow, because we have to have a constant reminder of, look, this was the first peaceful transfer of power in our nation's history. This was the first time that a Confederate flag flew in the Capitol in our history. Like, there are real things that happened that almost destroyed this democratic experiment, and we can never let that happen again. And let's also be mindful of the fact, Roland, that there were many insurrections that were happening across the country. Right? And so this was just a culmination of it, and Trump will usher this in again. Luckily, regardless of what happens, he won't be in charge of the Justice Department. He won't be in charge of the military. So, Biden's not going to be sitting there and watching stuff happen and not do anything about it. And so really, at the end of the day, we have to stay proactive. We have to make sure that this memory of what happened is told the right way, and we have to make sure that we continue to uplift this nation, because they are going to do everything possible to destroy it. They've already tried their dry run. They're waiting to do it again and try to be successful this time. Can't let it happen.
Indeed. All right, Julian. What?
I just want to share one thing. Wilmington, North Carolina, 1896. We have had other insurrections where they actually took all the black men who were influential in that town and put them on trains, put them out because they were about to take over the government. So we have that. That may have been the first one. We've had them again. So basically, and this was the Klan. They were called the Red Shirts then. This was a Klan who did that. So I'm just saying, let's not give those January 6 people too much power. They had a role model.
Oh, no, I'm not giving them power, but I'm simply stating that we cannot let people act like that didn't happen. And that's what Republicans want to do. They want us to act like what took place on January 6th did not happen and that it was a no big deal, when in fact it is a big deal. And let's also remind people that the person who led the insurrection, Donald Trump, has made it clear that he will pardon all those individuals who have gone to prison as a result. Another reason why he cannot win. Jade Amakongo, Juliana, I certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. You want to support the work that we do, please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Your dollars are crucially important. You can send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Is, of course, PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Be sure to download the Black Star Network app. We have crossed the 100,000 threshold. We've got more than 102,000 downloads. Let's go to 150,000. Download on your Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. Also, be sure to get a copy of my book, White Fear: How the Browning of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds, available at bookstores nationwide. Thank you. So pull up the graphic again, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. PayPal, R. Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Shout out to the National Black Radio Hall of Fame. Had a great time, of course, being inducted on Saturday. Appreciate all the folks for that. We also live streamed that. So if you want to see my acceptance speech, appreciate Rashad Ritchie also presenting me the award as well. So go to the Black Star Network app or go to my YouTube channel. You can actually see that from Saturday. And shout out to Clark Atlanta University. I gave a master class today on campus. Has had a good time there. I enjoyed my chat with the student, Dr. French. Didn't get a chance to speak to him. He did come out my speech, but which we'll catch up with Frat later as well. So again, it was great being on the campus of Clark Atlanta University. I'm back in the studio tomorrow. Folks, until then, I'll see you. You know how we always end the show. Holla! Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.